Depending on where you get your news, Ukraine has either started or it hasn't started its counteroffensive. Russia is either turning on itself or the country hasn't yet unleashed its full fury. Ukrainian forces either sank the Russian warship Ivan Flu or it time traveled safely to port. Now, as with any news from this war, the story often has two sides, and the truth is probably somewhere in between. In this news segment, we're going to look at what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to discuss Saudi Arabia announcing oil production cuts to drive up oil costs. We're going to look at a very concerning surge of avian flu and a potentially explosive legal situation coming shortly in regards to the former President Donald Trump and what that's all going to mean to you in the coming days and weeks. From more pain at the pump to the next chapter of this war that seems to be dragging the world into an increasingly precarious situation. Plus, I'll announce the 3 winners of our most recent giveaway, and I'll tell you what we're going to be giving away this week and how you can be eligible to win. So let's jump in. Russia. Both sides agree that the Russian warship Ivan Flu was attacked by 3 unmanned explosive-laden kamikaze boats. Now, Russia claims that all 3 kamikaze drones were eliminated and the ship is safe. In fact, they released a video of the ship pulling safely into the harbor, although that video was allegedly first released in 2021. Now, more compelling video is one released by the Defense of Ukraine, which clearly shows a drone attack, the Russian warship shooting at the drone, and then the footage cuts off with the drone ship a mere meter or so from the port side stem of the vessel. Now, the ship attacked is clearly an Ivanov-class ship, and only 2 are in the Russian fleet. Russian Ministry of Defense confirmed the attack of drones on the warship Ivan Flu near the Bosphorus. Now, Russia released its own video of the event showing what happens when an explosive-laden drone detonates on the water. A Russian-speaking Twitter account challenged the authenticity of a video depicting an attack on the Russian ship while sharing another video that showed the undamaged return of the vessel Ivan Flu to its port. Another Twitter user later discovered that the second video had been previously posted in 2021, initially described as the Ivan Flu passing through the Bosphorus Strait with a symbol in the background. Either the ship time traveled, it was sunk, is so heavily damaged that it's stranded at sea and in trouble, or it's perfectly fine. Given the visual evidence on this one, my gut tells me that Ivan Flu may be no more. We're going to be waiting for it to resurface, pun intended. If it is sunk, it would be Ukraine's most successful anti-ship attack since the sinking of the cruiser Moskva in 2022. In further indications of Russia perhaps losing control of its fighting force, Yevgeny Prigozhin, leader of the Wagner Group, released a report stating that the Wagner Knights were involved in a shootout with Russian Ministry of Defense servicemen, led by an intoxicated Russian lieutenant colonel close to Bakhmut. Now, allegedly on May 17th, mercenaries belonging to the Wagner PMC discovered that the Russian military had mined their escape routes. As they tried to remove the mines, they were unexpectedly attacked by Russian troops stationed in the vicinity. Now, a brief conflict ensued, resulting in damaged vehicles. In response, the mercenaries took action to counter the aggression and capture the soldiers from the Russian Ministry of Defense. This is either a further example of the Kremlin's inability to control their invasion forces, or it may be determined that this attack on the Wagner Group by the Russian Ministry of Defense was ordered at a higher level in an attempt to deflate Wagner Group and bend it back into Putin's service. Finally, has the long-anticipated Ukrainian offensive begun, or is the world still waiting? Again, it depends on whom you talk to and what sources that you read. Russia has claimed to stop a Ukrainian attack in the Donetsk region. The attack on Sunday targeted Russian positions in 5 different areas. Now, Kiev is known for both probing and distraction attacks, and whether the attack was related to Ukraine's expected counteroffensive was unclear. Russia is claiming that it has stopped the Ukrainian counteroffensive, and Ukraine is claiming that the counteroffensive hasn't yet begun. According to Western officials, well-trained and well-equipped Ukrainian combat forces have been positioned in assembly areas near the front line, suggesting they can launch a coordinated assault on Russian positions within a relatively short time frame. There have been 2 cross-border attacks from Ukraine into the Belgorod region of Russia in as many weeks, creating a stir because the Russian anti-Kremlin militias operating out of the Ukrainian area have utilized Western donated weaponry. Belgium has launched an investigation into the use of its donated military equipment. The Belgorod region, a territory on Russia's southern border with Ukraine, is feeling the conflict more intensely. A power facility caught fire after a drone attack, and more than 650 artillery shells were fired at targets in the Russian region. Belgorod is still 700 kilometers from Moscow, but such a forceful incursion into Russia has to have the Kremlin and Putin a little worried. A sweep east from there would cut off several vital supply lines Russia needs to wage war in eastern Ukraine. Successful Ukrainian cross-border offensives would demoralize Russian forces further and really open up a dangerous new chapter of this war, as NATO weapons and armaments would now be deployed on Russian soil. As Ukraine has demonstrated in the past when it retook Kharkiv in a lightning attack, they masterfully probed and forced the repositioning of Russian forces prior to an all-out attack. And that could be what we have been seeing over the last 2 weeks. We'll continue to monitor this and the veracity of Ukrainian claims that multiple saboteurs are active in Russia. Ukraine is alleging it has built a network of agents and sympathizers inside Russia to sabotage Kremlin operations. How true that is, we really don't know. Russia would have the world believe it isn't true at all, and Ukraine would have us to think that there are too many to count. As with all this, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. There is clearly an organized series of attacks with at least one exploding car, a bomb detonating in a St. Petersburg cafe, and an increasing frequency of drone attacks. One recent drone attack occurred in a residential neighborhood near Moscow, and another happened at an oil refinery in southern Russia. How many agents and saboteurs there are aligned with Ukraine and active in Russia will likely only be truly known if and when the Ukrainian counteroffensive actually occurs, as they will likely be in sync with their efforts. Whichever side you listen to and believe, one thing is becoming more apparent. Things are heating up, and we will likely see something significant before this month is done. What do you think? Are we on the cusp of a significant transition in this war, or is it just more of the same? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Gas prices. All global conflicts for the last several decades have, let's be honest, centered, even orbited around energy issues. And that's why we emphasize reducing energy dependencies, even in small ways, as part of your overall prepping strategy. Now, for some, that means figuring out how to use less or alternative renewable sources or backup emergency sources of energy, or solar or backup generators, or whatever else works for your situation. The oil crisis and energy prices are solely based on profits at the expense of people. And the latest OPEC Plus moves only really supports that premise. Saudi Arabia officially announced cutting its oil production by 1 million barrels per day to address falling oil prices. And the decision was reached during a tense meeting of OPEC Plus. It was accomplished by the exclusion of certain media outlets from covering the event. The production cut, led by Saudi Arabia, is referred to as voluntary measure. Saudi Arabia must keep the price above a certain amount, around about $80 per barrel. And to do so, they're going to cut production even as other countries ramp up their own to fill the void. Now, Western nations are strongly criticizing OPEC Plus for maintaining its alliance with Russia despite Russia's invasion of Ukraine. As a result, Russia has increased its crude oil exports to countries that have not joined the Western sanctions. The biggest benefactors of Russian oil have been India and China, who have been bathing in the discounted prices. Now, it could be argued that without these two countries' lucrative markets and their failure to support Western sanctions, the conflict in Ukraine would have been over. Now, the other benefactors of these voluntary Saudi oil cuts are smaller African nations that will seek to ramp up production with higher prices. Countries like Angola and Nigeria, they've struggled even to attain their production quotas in recent years, so they are reluctant to willfully want to join with the latest round of production cuts. During a meeting in Vienna, representatives from Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Nigeria, Angola, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, and the Republic of Congo, they were all informed by the Saudi oil minister that their production quotas within the group would be reduced. However, the African delegates left the meeting without reaching an agreement. And one thing is clear, even if most of all the oil-rich OPEC Plus nations reduce production and they allow Russian oil to continue flowing into the market, prices are going to continue to go up. OPEC Plus will meet again in November, but you can expect an immediate price jump at the pump. Experts are predicting that these recent moves will push the price of a barrel of oil up to $10 higher. Add to this, the supplies are already at low levels, and the pump price could skyrocket before the month is even out. The average cost for a gallon of gas was up 21 cents from last month, already owing to refinery outages. Minimally, barrel prices will rise above $85. Some are even predicted to go up as high as $100 a barrel by the end of the year. Economists indicate that roughly every dollar change in the price of oil moves the price of gasoline 2.5 cents. If that holds true here, Gas prices may be up 25 cents by the end of this month, but it's easy to get distracted in speculative math. The reality is that these barrel prices were almost a third higher than they were right now at this time last year. And while prices will escalate rapidly, they rarely ever go back down. They certainly don't go back down at the same rate that they go up. You can expect the market manipulation and the price fixing to continue. But will your dependence continue, or will you find ways to lessen your dependence? What are you doing anticipating this latest predicted spike at the pumps? Tell us about it and share your best advice in the comment section below. Avian flu. We've spoken about this issue several times this year on the channel, but experts warn that the bird flu virus is changing even more rapidly in the largest ever outbreak. The risk to humans remains low, and there have only been a handful of transmission cases to humans that have not yet led to a zoonotic leap or an outbreak. Now, the reason for concern here is that in mid-2021, the H5N1 avian flu virus, which first emerged in 1996, it became more infectious and virulent and went from a seasonal concern to a year-round concern. Now, the virus also has been detected in a high number of mammals. Chile reported that approximately 9,000 sea lions, penguins, otters, porpoises, and dolphins have perished due to bird flu along its northern coast since the beginning of just this year alone. Now, most mammals are believed to have contracted the virus by eating an infected bird, but there are several instances that can't be directly linked to this type of transmission and really seem to indicate that the virus could be transmitting itself between mammals. Humans are still relatively safe from this current strain at the time being, primarily since it binds to different protein receptors on the host. Now, this might not always be the case in the future. Currently, the most dramatic impact of this strain of avian flu will continue to impact the poultry industry worldwide. There are some global efforts to get some countries to vaccinate their flocks before infections spread out of control. It's worth watching, especially if you keep any backyard flocks. What precautions, if any, are you taking? Let us know what you're doing in the comments below. Giveaway. For this week's giveaway, we're going to be giving away a gas mask along with the hope that you'll never need to use it. To be eligible for a chance to win this one, just simply post a comment below and click the thumbs up icon. In a following video, I'll be using a tool to draw a winner from the comments on this video randomly. The last video's winner of the Nutrient Survival Powdered Eggs is Howie Z. The winner of the Emergency Radio is Scanman79, and the winner of the Live Straw is BJ Feast. Congrats, I'll be reaching out to you shortly to get those items sent to you. Donald Trump. Former President Donald Trump's legal concerns are continuing. His current legal team, comprising attorneys of John Rowley, James Trussey, and Lindsey Halligan, attended a meeting at the Justice Department that lasted around 2 hours on Monday. Now, Attorney General Merrick Garland was not present at the meeting. Trump's lawyers expressed frustration regarding the handling of attorney-client matters by Justice Department officials, specifically the discussion of related issues in front of the grand jury. The investigation involves Trump's attorney, Evan Corcoran, who a federal judge compelled to provide testimony regarding conversations with Trump concerning classified documents. Now, an appeals court rejected Trump's attempt to halt Corcoran's testimony. Special counsel Jack Smith is investigating Trump based on the discovery of classified documents from his time in the White House at Mar-a-Lago. There are indications that a charging decision in the case may be forthcoming very soon, as grand jury testimony has slowed down. Of course, there's several concerns here. What will happen if a former president is indicted for a federal crime? It increasingly appears that this may be happening soon. Of course, the question becomes, what impact will this have on the Republican primaries? At the moment, former President Trump has a commanding lead over the other individuals who are running against him. There hasn't been an event like this in American politics where the leader of a political party is facing multiple potential indictments. So we're really heading into uncharted territory with this. What do you think? Will Trump's legal concerns prove too much? Or will we be looking at another Biden versus Trump face-off in this coming general election? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. With all that's unraveling in the world at this moment, as always, I encourage you to take a step back whenever it feels too overwhelming. Focus on what you can control, and that's your own preps and your own piece of the world. Trust me when I say this, it will all still be here when you come back, either the same or a little worse, but you won't miss it by focusing on yourself and your family for a while if that's what you need to do. Let me just share a few personal things and I'll wrap this video up. I always look at these videos from the perspective of what can we do? And my encouragement, and this is something I've been focusing on increasingly as of late in my own life, is focusing on taking care of my own health. I've been sharing this a lot on the channel recently. I've been preparing over the last several months for a half marathon. I ran it yesterday. I'm recording this video on Monday. We'll release it on Tuesday, but I ran it just yesterday, last Sunday, and it went well. I'm glad that I can proudly say that I ran the whole time. I didn't walk any of it. My time wasn't amazing. I think I came in at 2 hours and 14 minutes on 13.1 miles, which was an average pace of, I think, about 10 minutes, 24 seconds. But, you know, I'd like to maybe drop that time down next year if I can lose a little weight. But all that to say, it felt good. And I'm going to continue to work on my health, and I would encourage you to do the same. Health is one of those things that once you lose it, you can't buy it back. And I've seen so many people sacrifice so much to get wealth and pursue other things at the cost of their own health. And then I've seen people end up at the end of their life having to spend that wealth that they gain to get their health back. I've seen it with a lot of people. And I'm only bringing this up to point out that when you have your health, you've got such a valuable resource. But once you lose it, you've got a problem. And look, a lot's happening, but don't let that get you down. Whether that's your physical health or your mental health, just guard yourself and protect yourself and take care of yourself. That's, I think, what I'd love to say here at the end of this video is, you know, focus on what you can. Again, there's always going to be bad issues that are happening in the world, and we're clearly seeing a lot of these things unravel in front of us, but take care of yourself and you and your family and those that you love around you. As always, stay safe out there.